Good to see all of you. I'm Reverend Tim Lytle, Senior Minister here. Good to have all of you that are with us online. Thank you for joining us. I hope that the marathon didn't scare some of you off, but I'm thankful for all of those of you who did make it through the marathon. It wasn't too bad, right? I mean, there were thousands of people, but some of you are like, was there a marathon today? It got cleared up by the time you got here. But I was listening to a song on the radio about Moses, and of course Moses was, they had the parting of the waters so that the people of Israel could come through. And that's how I felt getting here today, because there was a huge stream of marathon runners and walkers, and the police stopped to let me through, and it's like, oh, there's Moses. So thank you for being here today. I want to share a scripture with you. This comes from John chapter 10, verse 10. And this is Jesus speaking. And he says, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. So what is the thief that wants to kill, steal, and destroy? Well, in traditional Christianity, that is called the devil or Satan. But in our understanding, looking at this as how it speaks in our lives, the thief is whatever it is that is stealing our joy, whatever it is that is stealing and killing and destroying who we are really here to be. And what is that in your life? Is it some fear? Is it some fear that is destroying your joy? Is it some fear that is stealing away your true magnificence? The power of this month is wisdom. And one of the other words for wisdom, just guess, right? One of the other words for wisdom is judgment, but judgment has kind of this negative connotation in our culture today, like, ooh, no judgment. But judgment can also be about making good choices, good judgment, having good judgment. I remember when I was little and I wanted, to take bags of candy with me to school, but I was trying to sneak it out of the house. And I thought I was being so incognito. And my mother, who was watching, would say, what do you have? Just stuff for school. And she's, no. What are you carrying? And I'd slowly turn around. She'd say, put it down, And she would sometimes tell me, when you are older, you will have better judgment. Now, I can only hope. But it's about being able to discern. Some of you know that word, discernment. I really like that word, being able to really discern and test what is mine to do. Many times, it's not a matter of how do I get stuff done? How is it that I find the energy? Many times for me, it's just knowing what is mine to do. Once I know what is mine to do, then let's go for it. Then other people might try to talk me out of it. No, don't do that. You may, if you have read the gospel accounts of Jesus leading up to the crucifixion, there was a time where Jesus was making reference to the crucifixion. And Peter, Simon Peter, who is one of his closest friends, one of his closest disciples, who became this great leader in the Christian movement, Simon Peter said, never let it be, Lord. No, we're not going to do that. He wasn't for Jesus being killed or crucified or anything like that. Do any of you know what Jesus said to him in response? Nope. That's from the prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, John. Get thee behind me, Satan. He said that to Peter, the one he had named the rock. That is what Peter means. Petros, the rock. He said, get thee behind me, Satan. Because he was trying to lead according to his own ego, according to his own understanding. And Jesus is like, no, you don't get it. You don't get it. So there are times in our lives where something is trying to dissuade us from our path. Once we know what to do, and someone may come along and say, no, that is not yours to do. That is not yours to do. Why would you do that? Tim, you're white. Why would you go off and be a youth minister of an all-black inner city youth ministry? You can't do that. But God called me, and so it worked. And so it flourished. You know, it was like being a fish in the water. And other students are scratching their heads and like, how can he do that? Well, it's not about the personality. It's about being the presence of God right where we are, doing what we are called to do. So we use the power of discernment. We use the power of wisdom to reveal and unfold our magnificence. That reading from Marianne Williamson from a Return to Love is like, who are you not to be magnificent? Who are you to not be glorious and gorgeous? And who are you not? You are a child of God. And we would say you are the presence of God in action. Jesus didn't call us to mediocrity. Jesus didn't even call us, okay, just chew on this. Just chew on it. I'm chewing on it, okay? Jesus didn't even call us, he called us beyond excellence. Excellence might be something that you do really well, but you don't like it that much and it drains your soul. It may be a job. You may do a job better than anybody else, but you're just struggling in your soul, wondering how long can I keep doing this? I remember going to a lawyer, a wonderful lawyer. And I was talking with him, and he was telling me about how he was going to travel around the world or whatever. I'm like, wow, you can do that as a lawyer? You can just take time off and do that? He said, I've got to find ways to do this job so it doesn't kill me. Whew. Have you ever been in that job? You've been there, Chip? Hallelujah, you're not there anymore. Right? I mean, we may do it in an excellent way, but it's not feeding our souls. One of the signs, so I want to talk about 3 signs of really living into your magnificence. 3 signs of really discerning what your magnificence is. One is freedom. To really feel this freedom to be who you really are. I remember when I was selling men's clothes at Dillard's department store, and they had some good men's clothes and stuff, and you know, the management there was very much about quotas and selling quotas. I always exceeded my quota without looking at it or caring one bit about it. Because I was there to serve people. I didn't give a rat's about the quota. I didn't. What I was there was to serve people, and so people kept coming to me. You know, and I loved what I was doing. Yeah, I was a minister, and I was waiting to get a position as a full-time hospital chaplain. But in the meantime, okay, I'm working in a department store. What is a way I can live into my magnificence? What is a way I can live into my calling? What is a way I can demonstrate God while I'm selling clothes? And I found out it's by connecting with people. That's if you will, that's one of my Will you allow this? Will you allow me to say this? Because you all have it too. It's one of the things that's in my zone of genius. Amen. To be able to connect with people, to be present. And so I thought, I guess I'll do that. Well, I'm selling clothes. But I'm talking with them about their lives. I'm finding out about, their spouse is in the hospital. I'm finding out about these struggles. And I'm ministering to them while I'm selling clothes. So it's not just about the job that you're doing. It's about living in the magnificence wherever you are, whatever job you're doing, whatever situation you're in. You can live in the magnificence right there. You have that freedom. You have the freedom to be who you really are, no matter where you are. It can be a terrible looking situation, but you can still live into your magnificence. Recently, I was at the wedding reception dinner for Chip and Joe, and we were at Himalaya Cafe here in Honolulu, and there's this waitress named Simone. And I didn't know anything about Simone, hadn't met her before, but Simone was like really connecting with people, and she was really there to serve, and she was really there to help. And there was something in her spirit that I could just feel like she was a fish in the water. Do you know what I mean by that? A fish in the water? Like if you see a fish in the water and you tell it, wow, you are such a genius at swimming. The fish is like, what? The fish is doing what is totally natural and comes naturally and, like a fish in the water. Simone, in her waiting on us, was like this fish in the water. She just had this loving, connecting presence. And I got to know her a little bit, want to get to know her better, and found out she's a life coach. She's a yoga instructor, as well as being a waitress. And I talked to her about her life, and it's like, yeah, I'm doing this, but it's not like she feels called to be a waitress, but she feels called to be who she really is, wherever she is. So it comes through, that magnificence, that genius comes through wherever she is. Again, going back to that youth group in the inner city where I was the youth director, I remember when I was leaving there, and I was having a hard time leaving there, and looking back on it, I probably should have stayed longer. But one of these black teenagers came to me, and she was one of the core. We had started like with 2 or 3, and it built to like 25 teenagers in the inner city with no parents that came to church. Some of them having kids of their own. And we were packing them in. And I remember one of these core teenagers saying to me, "Why do you have to go?" "Well, I'm going to go pastor at church." "But why?" "We love you here. You're pastoring to us here. You work so well with us." I was like, whew. Have you ever had that experience where you know that you know that you know that you're doing what you need to do? It's not necessarily about the money. It's not necessarily about the prestige. It's not just because you can do it better. There's something about it that gives you chills. There's something about it that's like, wow, I'm rising up into this new level. Time stops when you're doing it. You go into God time. You're not keeping track of time. You're not like just stamping the time clock. You are moving into this zone of genius, this zone of magnificence, where you know that you are really living, you are really alive, you're really doing what you are here to do. You're being the presence of God right where you are. Have you experienced that? Oh, I'm so glad. Some of you have, anyway. And for those of you who haven't, I'm hoping to really create the appetite for it. Some of you don't know that exists. You know? Yeah. Someone there is longing for that. So find what it is where time stops. Find where it is that makes your heart sing. Is what you are doing in your life making your heart sing? Good. Some of you, yes, some of you are going, I have no clue. So it's okay to experiment. You don't have to give up your job, your life, your wife. You don't have to give up all of that. Find what it is that makes your heart sing. Find what it is. Try some things. It's okay. My mom is a phenomenal artist. Some of you have seen, up in my office, I have some of my artwork and some of my mom's artwork. She's a phenomenal artist. And so my mom and one of my brothers were phenomenal artists. And I thought, I tried to draw stuff and it didn't look so great. But later in life, something started speaking to me and I started drawing. And like I remember drawing this picture of Van Gogh. And my brother looked at it and he's like, oh, wow, did you trace that? And I said, no, I drew it freehand. He's like, oh, and he just walked away. Because that was not the expectation of what I could do. You know what I mean? And if you go up my office, I have a painting that I did freehand of Van Gogh. So at times, when I was painting, most of the time when I was painting, oil painting, maybe it'd be 8 o'clock at night, and I'd think, I got about 30 minutes. Oil paint dries more slowly. So you can work with it. It's not like watercolor where just what you do, it's there. No, you can move it around, you can work with it. And so, it's 8 o'clock, I've got about 30 minutes, so I'm not up too late. And so I'd be working on the painting I just wanted to do one little thing. And I'd be there and felt like I had just gotten there, and I'm wondering, what time is it? I looked at the clock, it's 2 a.m. 6 hours. Do you have anything like that? Where time just stops, where you're just in that zone of genius, where you're just living into your magnificence, so freedom. Freedom is one of those signs. What is it that gives you that sense of freedom? What is it that makes your heart sing? What is it where you're really feeling like a fish in the water? How many people here know Karen Drucker? Okay, several of you. She's a New Thought singer, composer. She's from San Francisco. She lives close to Unity and Marin, so I got to see her pretty often. And before I left San Francisco, I told her, you need to come to Hawaii. Are you watching this, Karen? You need to come to Hawaii. And she said, I know, I need to do that, And she's a marathon swimmer, and she's like, I need to get to Hawaii and do the marathon swims. And so let's just envision that together. And then I got this thing this week about how do you feel if Faith Rivera and Karen Drucker and June Dillinger were to do a workshop? And yeah. Anyway, So Karen Drucker used to be a singing hot dog. You know, she'd be out on the street, you know, it'd be like for a hot dog stand or something, and she had a hot dog suit on. So this hot dog coming out this way and then out this way. And so she's walking around in this hot dog suit, and she's singing as a singing hot dog. I mean, seriously. I mean, these are the kinds of things she was doing, but it was living into her magnificence. She loved to sing. She loved to entertain. She loved to connect with people. Now, eventually it led to being a singer that's known all over the world and composing many New Thought songs, but she started out as a singing hot dog. So the ego wants to know, how are we going to do this? What's the great plan? What's the 5-year plan? What are the steps? You know, well, for her it was, I'm going to be a singing hot dog, but eventually it expanded, it grew. You know, I'm thinking of Marcia Major, who is sitting here, and this Saturday at 4 p.m. here in the chapel, or we'll have a Zoom link, she has a workshop, a 1-hour workshop entitled Praise Where You Are. And her books, her spirit is all about praising where we are, praising the Spirit of life, praising the Spirit of God in all of nature, in all of creation, seeing that presence. And Saturday is Earth Day. So it'd be a great way to celebrate Earth Day. So you can come here in the chapel, 4 o'clock. It'll be a great time. She'll have her books here. Or you can get the book Quest. I really love the book Quest. There's 2 other books. And wow. It was something speaking inside of her that was telling her what to do. Can I share just a little bit, Marcia? When Marcia and I talked about this, she, as I remember, now later you can correct me, but you can correct me now if you want. But as I remember, Marcia told me it was like the book was writing itself. Like she was just in the flow, like she was channeling it. And when I read the book, it felt that way. At times I was just sobbing because it was speaking right to where I was at. It was going beyond the power of ego effort. It was going beyond the power of words. It was going to the power of spirit, because she was living into her genius zone, into her magnificence. And that's what we're all called to do. That book had been rejected how many times, Marcia? A lot. And you had kept it hidden for how many years? 25 years. She kept this book hidden, Quest. And it's a phenomenal book. Don't let others squash your dream. If you hear one thing I've said today, hear that. Don't let others squash your dream. Again, remember what Jesus said. I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. But many churches I go to, it's more like I have come that you might have more rules and more dogma and more prison to live in. Jesus said, I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. We are here to live in freedom, to live in magnificence, and to experience the power of peace, of being the fish in the water, and really living into our God magnificence. This is Orthodox Easter. The Orthodox tradition doesn't always, a little different calendar. So sometimes Easter falls on a different day, different Sunday than others. And we're still in that Easter season. And we were talking in that Easter season on Good Friday about crucifying our fears, crucifying those things that are in our way so that we can reveal the full Christ wanting to live as us. Letting that resurrect, letting that rise up. That's what we're talking about today. Allowing your magnificence, allowing your God self, allowing your Christedness to rise up, and don't let anybody hold it down. Thank you. I just invite you to take a deep breath as we move into this presence, this spirit of knowing that we are here to live into our zone of genius, live into our zone of magnificence. We are here to be this Christ presence in our world, as Jesus called us to do. So I invite us to go into a few moments of silence to really allow this to sink deep into our spirits and then get in touch with that God presence, that magnificence living within us and as us as we go into the silence. As we take a deep breath, we just give thanks for all the ways in which Spirit is rising up and resurrecting within us into a life of magnificence, into our zone of genius, so that we are revealing the God presence, the Christ essence that we are.